Well, hey everyone. I need to eat this food real quick. It will take me only a minute. And I don't know why. Oh, I think I'm hearing myself. I think I must have my stream up somewhere. Oh, I do. There we go. That was confusing me. Do we have the music playing? There we go. So I will be right back after I film my face. Enjoy looking at my code. Alright, I'm back. I had to microwave some coffee too. Because I wanted to. Alright, hold on. There needs to be more time between these two streams, but I want to go fast. I want to go right away. So, welcome to the stream. I mean, look, people have been talking. Lots of emojis. I appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everyone. Thank you for joining. And Michael Murray. Magic Pig Games came before the logo. It was a logo from 99 Designs, maybe something like that. One of those. But yeah, that's where that came from. I like the name Magic Pig Games. I also like the book, The Black Cauldron, that series, and there's an sort of Magic Pig there, and I think that influenced it. So there you go. I was eating, it's true, and I got more coffee, it's true. All right, so this is what I've been doing. For those of you who've been watching in the past, hopefully this won't suddenly break, because it's always possible things break. This is what I've got going on. You know, the game modules, which you can get on the asset store. By the way, oh, I do have a bug, look at that. If you go to infinitypbr.com and click the See All Assets button, you'll see all of our assets. It's also an affiliate link, so if you want to support the channel and Infinity PBR without buying our stuff yet, you're not ready to buy our stuff yet, that's fine. Click that link if you're going to get anything from the asset store. But the game modules are here somewhere. They keep coming up and then getting buried again, and then coming up and then, nope, not that one. Well, that's part of the game module. There it is. So if you go here, I'm redoing this entire thing. And for those looking about the inventory we were talking about earlier, there's a video about the inventory system that's included with that does that. So there's that out of the way. I swear I didn't have a null reference exception yesterday, but apparently I do. Set name. Why is that? That shouldn't be. What's my first null reference exception? Okay, this is the first one. Stats try get that stat get game stat. Set dirty. So and then let's see, what was I doing here? So set dirty was meant to mark a stat or skill as dirty so that they would update themselves, so you no longer have to worry about saying, hey, update this. It'll just update itself, and it will tell the other ones related to it that they're also dirty and they need to update, etc. This is saying stats try get blah 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 are, so either SS is null, which I suppose is possible. So let's find out by doing a debug log. So we'll say SS, we'll do it like this. SS is ss.object name. And then we'll also do stats debug.log, and we'll do stats is null, and we'll say do it the right way, the better way. Stats equals null. That should give us a true or false. And let's press play again and see. And then I want to show you the cool stuff. That's the whole point. I want to show you the cool stuff and then move on and start working on the other cool stuff related to the cool stuff. So let's just see what our first error is here. Stats is indeed null. Alright, so that's helpful. Where does stats comes from? Stats in this case. This is on the demo player. Oh, so this is the demo player rather than the stats and skill itself, which is good because that means that all I really have to do is say if no stats, or if stats equals null or skills equals null. Actually, I think we have a is set up. If is set up, then return. So if we're not set up yet, then we'll return. This script, I should have noticed this at the beginning, is the demo script, i.e. a demonstration of how you might build your script if using the system. And of course, the demo scene will come with it. But this script itself, while you can steal from, is not itself the system. For a second there, I thought that bug was something with the system. And I'm sure there still are some bugs with the system. That wasn't it. Let's see. What's going on now? Same thing, probably. Gain stat. No, we do want them to be able to gain stat. Gain stat happens here during the setup phase. As you can see, setup phase. If we are set up, we'll return. Then we do all this stuff. This is basically creating the characters. And so something's null here, and it shouldn't be, because at this point we do want them. So this is basically saying still stats is not set up. Did I forget to... I did. Maybe I knew game stats list. Yeah, I should do that. I tend to forget that step. I forget that step, and I think that's what's going on here. I do that fairly often, and with lists especially. Not sure why. There we go. So that fixed it. All right. So now you can see this setup, and I'll maximize it so we can see the screen. So this is a very basic demo, of course. But in this demo, you've got 4 different characters. And as you can see, their information that's being spit out is updating. It's sort of like a character creation scene. So now we've got Jay, the human paladin. And each of these races, these classes, these skills, whether you're equipping a sword and these equips, will change the values over here. And all of this is being computed on the fly through the system. You don't have to call, recompute anymore. You don't have to do anything like that. You just, say, oh, now they're a knight, and then all this stuff updates. So you see their magic points went down to 0. I can show you why in a second. And then you choose archer. Oh, no, they're a cleric now. And you can see each one has different proficiencies for different things. So the human cleric has a more proficiency on the personality. So when you give them an extra point, it goes up 1.2 because they're 20% more efficient. Or, proficient. But they're lower on the might. Same thing, we go to elf, suddenly our hit points are low, magic points are high, but we go to half orc, hit points are high, magic points are low. Of course, if you're making barbarian, magic points are 0, regardless of who you are. So if you're an elf barbarian, you better make sure you have a lot of stamina, because stamina is what influences your hit points. So you can see how that all goes there. We've got these skills up here, so if I give myself experience here, you see my experience goes up 100. But if you have the learning skill, it goes up 110. However, the skill master skill makes all your skills better, so if you go up, it goes up 111, just 10% boost to all your skills. So they scale like that. The idea would be like, oh, I'm learning expert with this many skill points, and so it's going to change the values, and that's all, almost all built in. I think everything in this demo scene is all built in, which is really nice. Other things, we got bodybuilding, makes you better on your hit points. Meditation makes you better on your magic points. So let's get a druid human maybe. So now take off meditation, your magic points go down. You get 10% boost there. These are being rounded as well. They're floats, but they're being rounded as part of the system. We can equip the sword. You can see 3 attack, 3 damage. But if you're a knight, your damage goes up because knights are proficient with swords. And if you're a cleric, your damage goes down because clerics are not proficient. You can equip a shield. Oh, so there was a bug there. Apparently, if you have a helmet but no shield, somehow your damage is going down. So that's something I'll have to look into. That shouldn't be happening. Not sure why. But, yeah, that is interesting. Not sure why that's happening. So there you go. So let's look at the back end and see how that's set up. Let's see. There we go. So the back end system, we have these item attributes, item objects, and the stats and skills down here. So let's look at something. We were looking at hit points, right? So if I load up our main stats and we look at hit points max, ignore these down there. That's just Unity being Unity, I suppose. We've got this custom panel that tells you all this stuff about hit points max. It can be modified, but it can't be trained. These are the starting values. I'll show you this with the experience in a second. You can choose whether there's a minimum and then set that value. You can choose whether there's a maximum and set that value. You can choose how to round it, whether you go no rounding, floor, ceiling, or round to a certain decimal place. In this case, 0. I'll have to take that into account. I forget how I do the rounding. So if I round to 0, I suppose it's just safe to cast it as an int. But there's also the you have to choose how to round. My understanding is that Unity doesn't always round the same direction at like 0.5. Excuse me, I'm slurping coffee now. And then it has these, this is down here. Now this system does use these, but this is also helpful just to see that, oh, hit points is being directly affected by these 3 other stats or skills. And then indirectly by these 4. So all these plus skill master, because I said earlier, skill master affects bodybuilding. Bodybuilding affects hit points max. And so essentially hit points max is affected by skill master. If we go to the experience, here we go. Now experience is in this context, I'm not using the proficiency, I'm not using the value, I'm just keeping points. I'm keeping track of experience points. And so it can't be modified, it can't be trained, I'm just going to keep track of the points, but I want my proficiency to be modified by this other one. I've got these fancy tooltips here now too, which is fun. So this experience modifier, every time I add points, experience modifier's proficiency will be taken into account. Now the method that does that does have a true-false flag on it, so you can temporarily turn it off if there's a reason why you don't want it to be multiplied. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps this only applies when you're doing quests or something, or if you use the same setup for gold where you keep track of gold via just the points, and there's something that can affect your gold, maybe when you buy and sell it doesn't take effect, so you turn that flag off. But if we look at experience modifier, you can see that it itself, let's just look at the main settings, it can be modified and it's directly affected by learning, and of course learning is affected by skill master. So itself though is kind of empty. But if we go to learning, this is where it gets really interesting. And we go from the main settings, we can see that learning as a skill can be trained and it can be modified. And it only directly affects experience modifier. If we click into our mastery levels, you see we got 4 different mastery levels. Those are set up in the mastery levels object. It can be any number. You can name them whatever you want. But in this section, you get to choose how this affects other things. And so what I've set here is the target is experience modifier. And then the base value is going to be modified by 0. The base proficiency is modified by 0.09, which is essentially 9%. And then the per skill point is by 0.1%. So if you are a novice learning with 1 skill point, then you will get a 10% boost to experience modifier. And experience modifier, that proficiency, this value that we're adjusting, is taken into account when you add experience points. So it's all built into the system like that. It's just you set it up once, and then as the players, as you add more points, and in this case we start with 1 point, but as the player in the game adds more points, they upgrade their learning skill, then their proficiency in experience modification, which is not a skill or a stat they'll ever actually see in the game, it's just hidden, it's just behind the scenes, will go up. And then when they become an expert, you might say, and I didn't type this out yet, but you might say that it doubles in value. So now they start out with 20%, and as a master they start out with 30%, and then as a grandmaster you can say they start out at what's 9 times so 3 6 40%. So as they upgrade their skill, they're also making. Is there an oboe? Oh, it was at 3. I usually have a level 1 or 2 of these dots, but it was at 3. So you can, just preset how the things act, and then once this is all set, you can change it, but you don't have to change your code. You can code for it, and you can make these changes anytime you want, and it shouldn't break your game. Your game just keeps operating. All this math is done behind the scenes. You can also, of course, link into it if you want and all that. But yeah, there's copy-paste options, which is really helpful when you're copying and when you have a lot of stuff to do. You can just copy something. Let's look at some other ones. So there's Skill Master. Skill Master is similar to Learning, where you just get a 10% boost to all these skills when you have it. And it, of course, itself is trainable. All of these have custom dictionaries, so you can create... yeah, if you go to the main manage thing, ignore that as well. I don't know why that keeps showing up. But when you can manage all your different types. The types is... Oops. This keeps coming up, and it's I need to figure out why it keeps coming up. It doesn't break anything. It just shows up. But the type is based on the folder it's in. So these are all skills. There's others that are main stats, and you can select the types here. Then you can more easily mass update things. That's easier to do there. This will change the mastery levels on all your stats and skills of this type. Again, mastery levels are an object itself that you can create and set up. And then you can set up your dictionaries here. This is going to be so that they all have the same dictionary. And when you do that, you can expose these different things. Now, these are not actual dictionaries. I can name this like flavor text. And then do that. And then we can have maybe, you might have... what might you have? An icon. You might have an icon to use for some reason, and so close that. And on the icon, I'll expose the sprite, and then you've got even my special ones for stats and skills and all these other things. So you can do more with this. You can expand the system yourself simply by using this dictionaries, our dictionaries, which are serializable, and then using these to do more creative things. So now if we go back to the object itself, we look at the dictionaries. I've got my flavor text here. I've got my sprite here. Now you can expand these, and these are all available to you, so you can continue to use those if you want. But the one that you expose will be what's here. And so you can type in your flavor text, choose your sprite, and so on. And now let's look at a couple other things, then I'll keep coding. I wanted to show how the item objects, so item objects and item attributes. You can think of an item object as a sword. Sorry, I drank more coffee. Now I muted myself for it. You're welcome. So, of course, there's armor. There's weapons. So you've got the sword here. And here you can see the stuff on the sword, but there can be other things too. I've got my character classes, spell books, and then attributes. We've got conditions, dispositions, gender, prefixes and suffixes for the items, a rarity, the race, so the elf, etc. In fact, I think I need to redo the character classes. It needs to be item attributes, not objects. So I need to update that. But even with these odd items here, now these can't be trained. What you instead get for an object, you get to check what kind of attribute types are available to it, and then which of those are available to it. Now, these aren't saying that this sword is magical. It's just saying it can be magical, but it can't be beyond repair. Or this sword can be a quest item, and it cannot unequip, but it can't be hidden. That way, later when we have loot boxes and other things that automatically populate, they'll choose from these objects based on, these settings based on various maths to figure out what an item in a loot box is. And throughout the game, you can then, I set up this special one myself, so whether it's a quest item, whether it can't be unequipped, that's logic I'll have to build into my game. But this allows the sword to possibly be a quest item or possibly be cannot unequip. And if I add a new thing here, like race, maybe you want to say that only goblins can use this. So for your game, you say race, and now only goblins are available for that. Something like that. I don't think I need race there, so I'm going to turn it off. So that's how you set up those. And then stats and skills are on these as well. So when you have an object equipped, you would pass this information in, this mastery level, essentially, which is on this object, to the stats and skills system saying, I have this. And now if the stats or skill, attack, and damage are on the player, then these will be part of the computation. I am planning on adding more information in this empty space down here, just to show a few more demos about upping the mastery level of the skills, so you can see the changes happen in real time, just as part of the demo. So let me explain what's happening here. This is an interesting thing. So we saw earlier in the demo that attack and damage were 0.3. Or for the knight, it was 0.6 or 3.6 for the damage. So this is saying that if you have the sword equipped, you know, you would only pass it in if it was equipped, I assume, your attack will go up by 3. That's just a base value. There's no modification to it. It's going to go up by 3. However, your damage will go up 3 times the proficiency of sword. So it will grab the sword star skill if you have it, and if you don't, it will be 0. And it will multiply the proficiency in sword, the final proficiency, by 3 to get damage. Now that gets into, you're thinking, well, what does sword proficiency have to do with anything? And if you go down to sword proficiency, weapon skills, we can look at our sword and we can see that it itself has no stats and skills, but it's directly affected by arms master and skill master. And it doesn't get, yeah, well, it's directly affected by those, but what I was getting at is that it's actually directly affected by the character class, but this won't list that because the character class itself of knight is basically saying level is affecting the hit point max, but other than that, there's no requirement. But if you look at the knight now that we're here, expand this just a little bit, we see that the sword has a proficiency of 0.2. So that's that 20% boost that sword will get if you're a knight. And then if you equip a sword, since the sword proficiency is now boosted 20%, the sword's damage will be boosted 20% by that computation. This is why the magic points were 0 for the knight and the barbarian, because the base value of magic points is negative 500. Essentially, you're never going to get magic points. And then the magic points rounds to with a minimum of 0. So you could put this as negative whatever you want, and as long as the positive values of their various things don't go above that amount, they'll always be 0. So it's a little way of forcing them to not be able to use magic ever. I know. I need to. I keep thinking I need to change it to like IPBR or module dictionaries or something like that, Jason. To that point, it's been on my mind. So this is another interesting thing here. So you can turn all of these on or off, and you can choose how it has an effect, whether it's a raw effect, which is essentially, and there's information here, but whether it's a raw effect, which is not much different than the base, it's just going to give those values. If you have level, then might will get whatever is listed there. Points, so your points and level, essentially if you want to say, hey, the knight will get an extra 1 might per level, then you just type in 1 here, and then it will be 1 times the points and level equals what might gets if you're a knight. You can do proficiency, so again, multiplying it by the proficiency. You can multiply it by the final stat, which is actually what you'd probably do if you want to say 1 per level, because you might have a spell that increases your level, which would then temporarily increase your might, and so on. Then you get this interesting one. You got the no effect. which is nice if you just want to do that. But you can also turn that off, which is also, it changes it to no effect. But then you have this other one. This was a little bit more in depth. But what we're doing here, I'm actually going to show on the hit points max. We're saying, okay, you're a knight, so your hit points max value is going to be 4 times, that's going to be x times, proficiency is 0, so x times the lookup value of stamina in stat bonus. So you have multiple things of doing here, so we're going to do times lookup value of what stat or skill? We're going to choose stamina, that's what controls your hit points. And in stat bonus, this is a lookup table. And it's basically going to say, okay, give me my final value of stamina. Look it up in the stat bonus. There's going to be an output value. And I'm going to multiply level times that output value times 4 to add to my hit points max. So it's a way of utilizing the lookup table. And the lookup table itself is in my lookup tables here. Stat bonus is just this. So if you have a stat of 15, then you're going to get an output of 1. If you have a stat of 30, you're going to get an output of 6. If you have a stat of 700, you're going to get an output of 40. And you can see your stats have to go up much higher to get a bigger break. And there's negative consequences as well. So if you lower your stats, then you're going to get negative consequences. And what's cool about that is it means that you can more smoothly ramp things using basically math, but lookup table. So it's it's cool. It's something that I was originally going to be doing myself, saying, oh, well, you've got the numbers, now just multiply by a lookup table and I'll write that code for my game. But then I realized, hey, I could probably build that as part of the system. So that's what that does there. And you can choose any of the other stats or skills. It'll just look up that value. If you were to ever choose might here, it should, yeah, it won't let you choose might. And so on. And then you can add other sources. So all these other stats and skills can be a source. So again, if you have Knight and you have the source, then it will have whatever effect you put out there. And if we look at the others, you can see that, oh, we do another fancy thing with the magic point sources for the casters here. So let me walk through that. And then I'll get to the actual coding. Unless you want me to keep walking through stuff, then I'll keep doing that. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me drink some coffee. All right, so for those of you who have heard me talk about this before, I like the Games Might Magic 678. Some of their mechanics are really cool. I want to improve on them, change them, but one of the things I liked is that magic users get their magic points from wisdom, and paladins, clerics will get their magic points from their personality stat, and then druids will get their magic points from a combination, the average of the two. And I was thinking, well, how could I do that? Again, this was something I was going to, do afterwards, but then I thought, can I build it into the stats and skill system? And it turns out I can. And that's where this actually came from, trying to do that. So if we look at the druid here, what we see is their basic proficiencies for being a druid. They're less on stamina, more on wisdom and personality. We can see that they get their hit points, just like the knight does, a little less though. But they also got magic points. And this is going to be gain the lookup of magic point source, which is another hidden stats or skill. The player will never see that, but it's going to be computed somehow. And to do that, in this section right here, what we're giving is saying, okay, you're a druid, get your wisdom final stat, and multiply it by 0.5 and add that to magic point source. Also, take your personality final stat by 0.5 and add that to magic point source. Essentially, magic point source then becomes, or it gets added to, because other things might affect that too, I suppose, in the game. Objects, spells, modifications and conditions, whatever you put in, really. But in this basic level, the half of the final value of each of these added together equals magic point source. What's magic point source? Magic point source, of course, then is used here. You get the lookup value of that magic point source, which is essentially the average of wisdom and personality. And that's what gives you your magic points max, which is the same technique we use for hit points max. For the mage, we also use magic point source. So it's the same thing there, but we're only giving wisdom and we're giving 100% of that value. So it just passes this value into magic point source, and the magic point source gets used here. So I think that's all the cool bells and whistles right now. I haven't set up Captain and Dark Knight. And we got different things. I haven't set up any of these yet, and so on. So that's that. So any questions before I move on? I'm going to sip some coffee while the stream catches up with life in real time. So I do wonder why that bug was happening with the 2.4 changing to 1. That shouldn't happen. In fact, I want to check. If I go to my damage, I just want to see. It's affected by sword. It's affected by Arms Master. And that's it. Let me see what Arms Master does. Whoops. Oh, it's not directly affected. It's the sword skill that's affected by. So it shouldn't change. Armor shouldn't change damage. Let's see. This affects armor class. That affects armor class. I'm not sure. Thanks. I'm glad you like it, Moga Creative. So let me try to recreate that. Am I in play mode? I am. So we are now a cleric. We have a sword equipped. Yep, so for some reason, I'll have to dig through as to why damage is going back to 1 when we equip the shield. But when we have... It's basically... doesn't matter which, it just keeps toggling for some reason, back and forth. So I'm not sure. That's interesting, though, because it doesn't matter which one or if it's both. It's just back and forth. So toggle, 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 toggle. It just goes back and forth. Anyways, I'll do that probably another time. What do you mean by boundary warnings? Oh, I just stretched. That felt good. All right. I was coding some stuff yesterday, and then I went to my friend's house for a game night, and we played Champions of Midgard, and it was okay, not my favorite. But I had bought it for him like 2 years ago, and we've never played it because he likes dice games, and he was working on a game that had lots of dice. The limits of the class. I still don't know exactly what you mean by the limits of the class. The character class? Comparison or an if state that actually became the assignment. So in my code, I think, if I'm hearing you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong because I might not be. So this is my demo player, and I think I do set character class. Yes, so I have a set character class and a get character class. Or just character class that calls get character class. So you can just call character class, character race, gender. Now again, this is the demo. This part isn't technically built in, but you know. So I'm trying to do this in the demos because I think it's just best practice, and it also gives you the options to do these other things. So here, you know, when I set a new character class, the first thing I do is set dirty all the things that are affected by the existing one because they're going to have to update. Then we get the new, so character class is an item object, so we get the item object, that new character class. If it's null, we just do nothing, and then we go and do the update, which is you know, set the new things and then set the new effectors as dirty or affected as dirty. Yeah, you have to get them their own dice. So you got yours, they've got theirs. A knight being configured can only, I mean, that's completely up to you. That's the thing is you know, I'm doing a fantasy thing, but this could easily be done for sci-fi. You could use this for an enterprise software, I suppose, if you really wanted to. Stats and skills, you know, they're numbers. That's all they really are. So, yeah. Hmm. Oh, I see. With the damage becoming 1. Um, could be. I mean, we can dig into that code a little bit. What I've been doing recently is just doing more like helper scripts, and I made this the game stats and skills is the runtime version that can be serialized and has things like oh, this is the new one that I was just making, the list. So you could just create a new list of this type to have all your stats, and it's got things like try, get, add, remove, contains, count, a clone ability, stuff like that. But the game stats and skill, so you got stats and skills here. This is the scriptable object, can't be serialized. Game stats and skills, however, does get serialized, and it's got all these fancy things on it, so that when you call stats and skills, or rather stats and skills here, it calls get stats and skills. It's a mouthful, which will return the cached value, and if we don't have it, then we're going to cache that, and that itself calls up the static repository, which is this object, which every time you load it, updates all the stuff in your project. Same for items as well. So you can see which ones are marked viable, which ones are trainable, etc. And it calls up those. So that's how it automatically references a scriptable object. Excuse me. And this technically will only be called once per run, per playthrough. And then the actual math is done. Well, let's see, compute. So not recompute that. Recompute to just, I guess, compute, and it's going to be like try recompute. If it's not dirty, return. Otherwise, compute final stats. And then the owner, which is of interface of I have stats and skills, will have this get other levels method that we can quickly look at that. And so these are this is the interface, and on our player, right here, we have get other. And so this is something you would populate. For me, since I've got a separation between my stats list and my skills list, I have to call the character class and get the modification levels there, get the one from the race, and then for each item, I have to get the modification levels from each of those. So this is something you would have to write depending on how you've structured your player class. But that automatically gets passed in to here. And we pass, yes, we're recomputing the whole tree, and yes, we are caching the frame. Although I'm going to remove that, I think, because I think we're always going to cache the frame. Otherwise, it can cause some problems if you turn that to false. So on our compute final stats, first, if it's already computed this frame, then it's just going to return the final stat. So if it gets computed 3 times because it's required by 3 or 4 different things that themselves are being recomputed, then it won't have to keep doing it. And then it'll say its last compute time. If we're recomputing the whole tree, then it will recompute all the other required stats and skills. And that method right here basically says, goes through each of them in our compute list, which is a list that's built at edit time automatically, that lists the stats and skills that are required to get this final stats and skills in the correct order. So starting with the ones that aren't affected by anything and moving up so that each one gets its correct value before being included in another's computation. And in this case, those have recompute tree set to false because we're doing them in order. They don't need to recompute the whole tree. That would be redundant for those. And that way they don't do this on all of them because you get into an infinite loop essentially. So you don't want to do that. Let's see, then what do? Then we say, we set our temporary values here, and the value that we're adding, and our affected by values. And then for each value and proficiency from all the stats and skills that affect everything, we all have their final stats, and then we're going to go through basically each one and get their effect on this stats or skill. Each stats or skill, all of these objects have a UID, and that's how you really reference them at runtime. It's just a string from the GUID system. So you get the effect on it, and you add that together until the very end, when you now have your value add and your proficiency add after doing that for all of the things that affect it. And then you're going to get the same thing, other value and other proficiency from this. I actually should put this, I think I'm going to move that into a similar method like this, so it's just one line here. But compute other values and proficiency. So this is taking all your character, all your item objects, all your item attributes that might affect this. And on this one, it's basically saying, first, if there's no other levels, just return 0. There's no effect. But then for each one, it's going to say, hey, what's your effect on this? And then add it to the total and return that total. So pretty straightforward there. And then we're going to add all the values together. So your final value is going to be your points. That's meant to be user assignable points, whether it be skill points in the concept, whether it be your health would be a points, etc. So you get your points, that's user assignable. Then your base value, that's the value that would not be user assignable. Technically, that's the way it's intended. You can use it however you want, though. Plus your other value, plus your value add, and that's your final value. Then you get the same thing from the proficiency. You get your base proficiency, add in the other proficiency, add in the other other proficiency. If a proficiency is 0, that means you're 100% proficient. If it's negative 0.1, you're 90% proficient. So that's how the values work there. And then you compute the final stat by saying the final value times 1 plus the proficiency, so 100% at 0, equals your final stat. Then we do our min-maxing, then we do our rounding, and then we reset other value and proficiency, which is these values. We reset those to 0, and then we finally return the final stat. So to circle back to the issue with damage being 1, I'm not sure. Well, let's look at the min-max for damage. So if we go down to our main stats, yeah, damage, we are saying damage is going to be a min of 1. So let's just turn that off. And to your point, Anders, let's just see if that is having an effect. So we're going to say equip sword, and then be a cleric, and then equip this. Aha! So indeed, it's rounding down to 0 for some reason, and it was being added to 1. So that's interesting. And if we turn that back on, then we'll see it go to 1 now. And we're also rounding, so let's not round and see what it does. Okay, so it's 0. It's just straight 0. Let me turn these back on. And rounding to 1 decimal place. Yeah, alpha test indeed. So, what could be happening with damage? Well, it's because I've been working on it every single day for the past couple weeks. In my head, it actually does make a lot of sense. The difficult part, as those of you who have been watching, is that it is fairly complex. There's a lot going on, and it's not a visual system. I've tried to put these lists down here to help visualize it, and that's helped me visualize it. But it is not, I was talking with Jason Storey. We were, I was saying how it would be more interesting as a node-based graph, so you could just connect the nodes together. It's essentially, that kind of concept, but that's okay. Okay, so what's happening here? Damage is going down to 0 when you equip the shield, which makes no sense to me. Think about knowing the code. I don't see how that is really possible here. So I guess what we could do is, so this is a yeah, so I'm gonna grab the UID. So the UID is a unique identifier for each stat and skill. You can copy it by just clicking this, which is really nice. It's convenient because I'm going to go to my code and say, if damage, we're going to spell out some stuff. So if this would be, oh yeah, game stats. So if stats and skills.uid equals this, then we're going to say debug.log starting damage. And we're going to spit out some values here throughout. And so I'm going to do it for each stats and skill. And we're going to say, just to kind of walk through essentially, affected by ss.object name for affected by value and affected by proficiency. So we're going to spit that out for each one of those. And then we'll get the other proficiency, other objects, and we'll say other value and other proficiency. And then finally, we will do final value, final values, and we'll do final value first, so final stat, and then we'll do, actually, let's do it. We'll do this. Final value times 1 plus final proficiency equals final stat. And then finally, we will say, after this and after this, we will say post min max and post rounding. All right, so that should give us a readout of what the heck damage is doing. Let's see what happens. I am very curious about this. I really didn't think that something like this would happen, but of course, who knows? Code is crazy. All right, so to do this again, we're going to go to cleric. We're going to go to equip sword, and then we are going to, it's spinning out every time. Well, that's interesting. It shouldn't be doing that. So that's another thing. It should not be doing this because it should be saying I'm no longer, it shouldn't, yeah, let's see, let's dig here because it does players tick, and then this is another tick. Okay, let's bring this up a little bit. Then another one. So this is a tick on the demo player. For each stats and skills, we're going to do those ticks. So I'm going to skip that, and then we're going to go straight to this. So if it's dirty, return. And so it's saying it's dirty, and then we're going to set dirty. Set dirty equals false. And then for each other ones, we're all right. Well, that's we're gonna just specify here setting dirty, and then new value. I just want to see that it's actually saying it to false. And then it's gonna, for each one that this directly affects, it will set dirty, and for this will affect on them too, it will set, oh, check that out. New value. I need to pass that in, otherwise it's going to default to true. So I'm going to ignore this because I'm certain that that's what's going on with the constantly being computed. I didn't pass in new value to set dirty because this says, okay, I'm saying myself to the new value, and then for everything I directly affect, if the owner has it, then set that to the same value, and then those are going to do the same thing for everything that they directly affect. Yeah. All right. So let's see. So unless there's and actually, you know what? I'm going to bring that that debug back just to make sure there's no weird infinite loop going on here. I should only see that once. It shouldn't see it every frame. It shouldn't be saying set dirty all the time, but let's see what happens. All right, so we did a whole bunch. Stuff's happening, and it's still saying saying dirty true. Why are we saying dirty true? So these are ticks. And then reset stats. Oh, okay. Okay. So this is recompute all the stats, essentially. All the stats? Recompute just one stat. Let's start from here. Okay, so reset stats happens to update. Do we need to do this? I don't think we need to do this anymore. Yeah, I don't think we need to do this. I think we only need to do this at start, actually, or at setup. So let me just comment that out and see what happens. Do we do it at the end of setup? We do, and we do it at the end of active player. So those are the two times that we need to do it. So I think that was just erroneous code from before, because previously the stats and skills didn't update themselves. Now they do. And so you used to have to call a code to reset. You can turn that off, by the way. So if you did want to manage it yourself. Okay, good. There we go. All right. So let's see what spits out. We're going to be a cleric again. We're going to get a sword again. So it did a whole bunch. Damage affected by other objects for 3 and 0. Final value is 3. Post min max is 3. Post is 3. Oh, perfect. And then saying dirty infinite. All right, so we got an issue here too. Saying dirty for true, and then true. Huh. Why is it player's tick, player tick? Don't expand the window. For each in the skill, do their tick. And then check for changes. Line 88 is set dirty. If we have changes, we're saying dirty. Otherwise, we are not. Are these not getting updated? Base proficiency equals the temp. Where do these get updated? Oh, are they not getting updated? Ooh, it's raining really heavily today here, and it's very exciting. I'm going to be walking in a storm later because we only get storms a few times a year. That's a sidetrack. So I think we're not updating this temp value, I suppose. Is there a way to see where this gets called throughout the whole project? Yeah, so it says it's never assigned. So yeah, we must not be updating it. So after we do this, we're going to set dirty and then compute final stats. And after we compute final stats, we are going to set them all down here. So equals base proficiency temp equals base value temp. Whoops, what am I doing? Equals base value, and then base or final, which one? Base points, that's right. Wait, there were 3, right? Points base, points temp, there we go, equals underscore points. So those are the only ones that the final stat is going to be affected by all these other things. So these are the only ones that we really need to check. These are the things that a user might, do something and suddenly add a point. And if this changes, then we need to recompute stuff. If the value changes because of a modification gets added or removed, then we need to recompute stuff. And that's how it's going to know that. So that should solve this issue. And it might even solve this damage issue. It could be an emergent property, that issue. An emergent bug, you might say. All right. Equip sword. Good, we're no longer getting that all those spit outs. Now, magic, here it comes. Okay, let's see why it went down to 1. Affected by other objects for 0 and 0. That's the big change, right? So if I turn this off, affected by other objects 3 and 0. So that is the change right there. It's this part. So the issue must be in this. So let's go and spit out some more debugs in this. And we will do that here. Yeah, I am kind of disappointed I can't listen to the rain. I like listening to rain. There's an app and a website called Rainy Mood. So it's an app, but therainymood.com is the website. If you like rain and storm sounds, it's wonderful for concentration. Yeah. Michael, you and I must be in the same larger area in NorCal, because that's today. It's very exciting. Fire season is over, they say, because of this rain, which is nice. Nobody likes fire season. All right, so we're going to spit out. Are we on the right one? Yes. Temp other value and temp, so we can see what's being affected on, and it's going to be affected by level dot stats stats and skills. What does level have that we can level? Yeah, I guess I don't. Level is attached to other objects, and technically nobody really cares what object it's attached to. So there's not really, there's a mastery level, but it doesn't have like a name per se. We'll just say mastery level. They're all going to be novice. Or let's see, what level UID? Get UID. Let's see, maybe I can build that. This has a UID. It doesn't have a UID. Okay. Huh. All right. Well, we'll just have to mastery level for now, and I'm having deja vu too, which is cool. Who likes having deja vu? I think it's interesting. I don't think it's the Matrix. I think it's just a thing that our brains do. Los Gatos, Fancy Pants. Let's see now. All right, let's equip our sword, and then let's equip our shield. And we have affected by objects for 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So 4 zeros. And if we don't have it, then we are affected by these two, or this one. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I wonder if I'm checking, because there's only 3 here instead of 4. And that's telling as well. So let's make sure that we are actually checking only the ones that affect it. So this is get effect on. Doing a lot of debugs, and we're gonna say, whoop. So we know the owner here, so that's good. So gain affected by, we're gonna say owner dot shoot. Owner doesn't have a name that I can leak in or latch into there. What's get type on that? Get other. No, that's not gonna help us. All right, I'm gonna start a new one here. I'm gonna say string get name get owner name, or just say, we'll just say owner name, and it's going to do get owner name. Can I do that here? Maybe not. String owner name equals Can I not do that? Oh, just string get owner name. How about that? Okay. And then we're going to have to update our player and add in that. So let's click here, implement the missing member, and we will return name, character name, and then oh, that's not going to help us though. He's just going to give us the character name. What we're really looking for is the thing that's affecting this, but that's okay. We'll just see what happens. All right, so we got this affected by that. For each modification, all right, this will be helpful. We can spit out some information here. We're going to say checking modification with source mod.source.object name and target mod.target.object name. That should be technically damage, but I want to spit that out for sure. And this is going to, you know, check to see all these different things, which will make it have no effect. But I want to see that. Oh, and I'm just going to throw an error. And we're going to say and is not mod.is base and not mod.is per skill point, because those don't have a source. So that would throw an error if it was. Okay, so that's all the continues. So we're going to say then we'll do calculation. And then for now, so these are all the different calculation methods, the ways you can calculate. So I'm just going to spit out the results here, and we're going to say value add and proficiency add. And then between the two methods here, when we have it working right and when we have it working not, we should be able to see a difference, I would hope. Oh, and we got some bugs. Stats and skill UID. Oh, we don't have that. Okay, we're going to say mod.target. Get effect on target UID. So we got our target UID. So we're going to say get stats and skills by UID, and we'll pass in target UID. Okay. Oh, or just target UID. Yeah. If target UID equals that, that's what we need to do. There we go. All right, those are the 4 spots. I think get type though would just be item object for all of them, or item attribute. I really want to know which item, like the sword or the shield, etc. All right, let's equip the sword. So we are checking all these. You can probably not spit all those out. Affected by objects, by something that's missing. Where we not gain? It's not spitting out the mastery level. Oh, because there's no name of the mastery level from objects. But so affected by Elliot, that's the name, no big deal there, we knew that. So all right, right here we'll do calculation, checking source level target, nope, source level target, okay, source sword target damage. We're seeing the results 3 and 0. All right, so we're going to look for that same thing, source sword and target damage, and see what we get. All right, source, sword, target damage, 0 and 0. Interesting. So it's that modifier on sword that's causing the issue. So let's check that out. Turn this off. So sword, target damage. So if we look on sword, and that's going to be on our object. So our sword object. Source, sword, target damage. That's this. So proficiency. So now, to Anders' question for the calculation style, couldn't you utilize the factory pattern instead of that long if else? Most likely, if I knew exactly what the factory pattern was, because as much as I can do stuff, I haven't quite solidified my understanding of things like the factory pattern. But yes, this can be optimized for sure. This actually started with just like 2, and then I was like, oh, but I can do it like this. Ooh, I can do it like this. Ooh, I can do it like this. And it just got more and more and more. All right, so we know it's proficiency, so it should be doing it here. So I'm going to add it here just to make sure we're seeing it. Proficiency calculation results. So let's see what it's doing. Value add plus equals the mod value, which is right here, 3, times 1 plus source game stats or skill, which is sword, final proficiency. Final proficiency. Is it not being computed in the right order? I think maybe it's the final proficiency that is the issue. So we're going to spit this out as well, and we're going to say in parentheses, final proficiency of the source was that. And then I'm going to check to see if that says essentially 0. I think that's what it's going to say. And I'm also going to remove these debug logs because that's too many. We don't need those. All right. Because if my thinking here is that if somehow sword is getting reset to 0 and then being used in the wrong order, like it's not being calculated first, then that would cause that to be 0. It should be calculated first, but all right, let's see. Final, okay, we'll do calculation. Starting damage. Okay. Oh, I guess, okay, maybe I don't want to delete what I deleted. I want to just move this down, actually. So we're going to move it down, 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 down to this. And we'll do it there. All right, let me spit that out again. I just want to make sure I see the right stuff. For the love of Uncle Bob. Add the sword. So I want to see my, okay. Checking modification with sword, target damage. Sword, target damage. Final proficiency of the source was 0. Calculation result 3 and target 0. All right. Wait a minute. Whoa. It didn't get included at all. Whoa. Okay, so why would that be the case? Why would it not be included at all? Huh. So we have a target with damage, but then if we select one of these, suddenly none of them are included. And we're doing 4 mods instead of 3, which, okay. Well, I think we need more information, unfortunately. We need to see... with stats and skill modification. No. With what is it? Modifications. Modifications. Whoops, just modifications. Modifications.count. Modifications. I think. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to put in here public string owner name and pass that in. So before we continue, let me get that owner name in there. I think I'm just gonna do that through the editor script. So we're gonna go to the stats and skills editor, and then let's see. I'm going to add a new one. Set name on levels. And here we will say for each stats and skills modification level in modification levels level.owner name equals name or object name. Wait a minute. Why are we in here? I thought we were in our editor. Oh, whoops. That's why. Private void, set name on levels in this object dot. There we go. Because I only want that to run here. I don't want it to run during the runtime. I'm not sure. I've never used print. Does print give you the what is it, the stack trace thing? Because that's always helpful, or not always, but often helpful. But all right, so that should have updated this object name, and let's see what happens now. Oh, did we? Hold on. I added the name, but I didn't add it to the debugs. Okay. By owner name. Okay. So now I'm checking to see what owners are affecting this. I was hoping this bug would be easier to find. All right, affected by no object names, no object names, no object names. That's because I need to, gosh, just quickly go through all these. And this, and what other things have I added? Races and classes. Alright, that should be enough. Let's just see now. Alright, equip the sword. Okay. Wow. It didn't spit those out. That's too bad. Affected by something with 15 modifications, with 12 modifications, and with 4 modifications. So remember those numbers, 15, 12, 4. Clear this out. And now it's affected by something 15, 12, 4, and 1. Interesting. What is that 1? And what is this 4, and why is it not giving us what we want? Alright, let me use a... Let me make sure that this is actually getting through here. So, modification level, owner name is not being set. Why not? Why the heck not? Initial setup. Oh. If not initial setup, return. So it's going to do initial setup. And it's going to do name on level. It's going to do that. All before it returns anything. Unless there's no object name on it. There should be. The object name is sword. Doesn't seem to be. Oh, duh. That's stats and skills. I was doing. I did it on the wrong. Well, I need to do it anyways, but I need to do this on item object and item attribute as well. Duh. All right. So just do that here, and then we'll say set name on levels. And stats and skill modification level. And actually, we don't even need to do that. We just do this. For this. And we'll copy this and do it on attributes. Editor. Same thing. Initial setup. Paste it in there. And then do set name on levels. Okay. Now when we select these, they will update. I'm just going to quickly go through them all to update them and go back to make sure it's been updated. It has been updated. So let me just do it on these as well. And on these two. And on the race. Because those are the only things that should be affecting anything. Alright. Oh, I should have unequip it, and let's alright. Affected by knight, human, sword. I'm doing the calculation. Excellent. Now, knight, human, sword, and shield. Now it's not affected by shield. Damage is not affected by shield. But that's okay because it didn't find anything. But it's not doing this. So something on sword, 4 modifications affected by for 0, 0. If we add this one, suddenly it says affected by sword with 4, and it works, and then both of those happen to do it too. Interesting. Shield and helmet. So, couple things. We actually don't know if it's affected by it yet, so we're going to put a question mark here so I stop confusing myself. And then this is not running, so I'm going to spit this out as well, and we're going to say mod we'll do calculation style is that. So I want to make sure that that's for some reason isn't changing. Oh, but it's not even doing that at the other one, is it? spit these out and see. This is now confusing. I mean, it was confusing before, but now I'm extra confused by it. Starring damage. Target damage affected by Druid, 0. Target damage affected by human, 0. A sword. What we do calculation style is 2. Okay. So one of these must be triggering it, I suppose. So let's find out. We'll say debug.log has no effect. Don't care about spelling. Debug.log not target UID. And for this one, actually, we will spit out mod.target UID versus target UID, and we're going to say debug.log mod is base and debug.log mod is per skill point. And this last one will spit out if the owner doesn't have it, the source, debug.log owner does not have, this could be where the bug is. Still trying to train myself to always hit the $sign there. Mod.source UID. Which is get stats or skills by UID, mod.source UID, dot object name. And I actually need to add that somewhere else. Didn't I do another one? Yes, right here. There we go. All right. Feel like we're getting one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. Okay. Those are all good. What we're looking for is sword damage. Okay. And that starts with affected target damage affected by sword with 4 modifications. Dwarf. Sword with 4 modifications. Owner does not have that. That's the difference. What is the owner? I should have put out the owner name. We'll do it again. Owner, whoops, not that. Owner name does not have that. Let's see who it thinks the owner is and what's checking, because I think I'm guessing this is where the error is. That is my latest hypothesis. And then we'll clear this and make that spit it out again. Go down to affected by sword. It says owner sword does not have this, which is sword. So owner sword is the item. Does not have the sword. Well, of course not. So what is this actually checking here? If we can't get the sword skill, which is 5FE. Let's just check that. That should be the UID of the sword skill. So, weapon skills, sword. Yeah, so it's definitely the sword skill. So the owner's sword doesn't have it. That's correct. And so we're not actually saying owner. What we're trying to see is the thing that's being affected. Do they have the sword skill? And so what we need is to pass in target owner, we'll say. Target owner. Or we'll say owner target. Which one? Target owner? Owner target? Target owner. And what we're really saying is, does the target owner have it? So target owner dot owner get owner name. And then here, where it's now throwing an error, get effect on owner. Oh no. Wait a minute. Modification level. Game stats and skills. The owner should be the thing that this is on. No. Target is the stats or skills it's targeting. The owner is the object that contains the stats and skills. But what we're doing here is saying level, modification level, get effect on this UID, which in this case is damage. Adding points 0, adding proficiency 0, because IM objects and stuff don't have those. And pass in the owner. What is the owner? It's the I have stats and skills owner. And so get effect on target owner. That should be the same. Because owned by owner dot get owner name. I'm just gonna make this null for now and change back this for now and see, am I passing the right owner in? The owner should always be the player. probably delete a bunch of those. Target damage owned by that name. So that seems to be passing the right player in. Okay, so I'm going to delete these other debugs because I don't need them. We've isolated this part as already to here. Target. So now we should hopefully I don't have to restart the, let's just see. Okay. Yep, okay, we gotta start and stop again. So now it's Zelda. Affected by sword. Target owner Zelda does not have sword skill. Well, is that true? Demo players. Zelda. Skills. Sure enough. She doesn't have... Oh. Ah. This is actually a good thing. You just heard the aha moment. This is actually a good thing because that means that the actual stats and skill system isn't broken. It's me that's broken. It's definitely me that's broken, where we say add skill or something where I do this button right here and I say toggle item. Let's go to the code. Toggle item, and we toggle the sword skill. That is why. So we're gonna say if don't I have a list of UIDs? I think I have a list of UIDs. Starting stats. UID sword. If UID equals UID sword, then we will toggle the sword skill. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That was a long journey for essentially a simple human error. I am happy that the issue was not anything to do with... Oh, now it's just... Alright, well now it's... Why isn't it doing it now? Alright. UID sword. Oh. Is this the right sword UID? Weapon skill. Yeah. It looks like... Right one. And when we equip sword, where is it? Sword right here. We're passing in the wrong... Oh, toggling item. Okay. Well, let's just freaking hardcode this. So if the UID equals that, then toggle sword skill. All right. That's the item UID for sword. At one day, I don't know if Jason Storey is listening or somebody else who knows how to do this and wants to help out. One day, I want to get this. I think I need to do I don't know, is it an override or something? I don't know how to do it, but I would love that anytime one of my things is being used here, that it just says the name next to it. I don't know how to do that. But I would love it if the UID included the name or something, or like somehow said what the object was. But anyways, let's try again. All right, equip sword, equip shield. Perfect. Okay, unequip sword. There we go. Give ourselves some some knight. Oh, look at that. Night? Oh, there it is. How come it didn't do it the first time? Did it not do it the first time, or was that just me? Let's see. We are an archer. We are a knight. Oh, look at that. It didn't update it. Damn it. It didn't update until the second click. That means it didn't do it in the right order. Let's see. Our sword skill is affected by those things. Oh, now it's not even going down at all. Interesting. Okay, I must have an order of operations issue on this stuff, but because what I'm noticing here, so we're at a cleric, which has a negative proficiency on sword. If we move to archer, it should be 3.0. It's not. And when I keep clicking archer, nothing changes. Then I click knight, and then I click knight a second time and it changes. But again, clicking to archer, and any number of times of these other ones that have no issue with sword, it just doesn't change at all. Which tells me that maybe damage isn't being updated when I change those. Now, if we remember when I was talking earlier, I said that I coded this so that when the character class changes, we're saying dirty all these things. So set targets dirty. So we're going to debug.log set targets dirty, and we should see that twice. And then so try get set dirty. So this is going to be stat. Bug.log if ss dot object name equals damage, then we will say debug.log set damage dirty. Let's see if that works. All right. So we have sword saying dirty true, set damage dirty. Huh. Interesting that this does this twice, but that's it. Okay, I can look into that later too. Now, we'll go to knight. So this is our, I believe this is our damage UID from earlier. So we're seeing saying dirty true, and then we do damage. And then it says affected by night with 10 modifications. Affected by 0. All right, well, let's At least we have these debugs already. So I should be seeing, since the night does affect that, we shouldn't see 0. So now I'm going to click night again. Huh. Wait a minute. Target damage owned by Malin, affected by sword. We'll do calculation style 2. Proficiency. Final proficiency of the source was 2. Proficiency calculation result 3.6 and 0. So that's what we need to be looking for. Let's get back to the cleric. We do this. Okay. By sword, calculation 2. Final proficiency is -2. So it still thinks that we are doing the care. Oh, so this is, I think, an issue where I'm setting the new character class, but before Unity, like whatever, it puts that into the system, it does all the calculations and then it sets it. So I can delay 1 frame, or, and I was actually thinking about this when I was building the system, or we can do this in late update. We could do the recomputation in late update. So that would be in game stats and skills if is dirty, or compute final stats. Try recompute. So instead of doing it in tick, we'll do public void late tick. And we'll see if this works. So we're going to have to do a bunch of late ticks. I have to do in player. And so public void late tick. And put these down there. And say late tick. And here we need private void players late tick, and this down there, do late tick, and then wherever this gets called an update, we will say private void late update players late tick. All right, let's see if that does the trick. Yeah, essentially I noticed this before, that I would set the new character class, but it wouldn't seem to hold or take hold until the next frame. So if I do the recomputations in late update, then technically it should... Oh, it didn't do it there. Nope, it's still not working. So that time you noticed cleric, when it updated, was 3, and then I moved to knight and it's 2.4, so it still thinks it's cleric. Let me just make sure that this is actually happening in late. So saying character class, and then set dirty. I mean, actually, the act of saying dirty does mean that they should happen on the next frame. Okay, let's see where it gets the character class from. Where does it get the character class? Get effect on. So it's really get other levels. It's getting it from here. So get other levels. Oh, I gotta do that on the player. So this is where we get our character class. And we're saying if it's not null, return that character class. So I'm going to just say debug.log getting character class and character class dot object name. So let's see. Make sure we're actually doing it. Set character class UID. That could be it too. Setting character class UID, which is going to be get item object array okay, we're going to say current is that, and then after this we're going to say did set character class to this and that. All right, let's just see what that spits out. Oh, you got a bug. Probably have to do an if is ready or something. Set character class. So if character class dot is not equal to null, because at that point it's null. It shouldn't be null after, so let's see. I've got a day job, Alan, actually. The asset store income is less than people realize. I'm finally able to pay myself as of January of this year. I started paying myself. I started Infinity PBR in 2015, and it took 5.5 or 6 years to finally start paying myself on a consistent basis, and it's not a lot of money. It's essentially like 2/3 of rent and bills and all that stuff. But hopefully it'll grow, but the day job otherwise. I don't do freelance work. I don't have enough time currently. Need to do the same thing here. If character class is not equal to null, then do that. Okay. And yeah, Michael, they essentially are graphs. Graphs are above my pay grade at the moment. What is all this? Why is it doing... Well, that's not going to be super helpful. All right, well, let's see what happens when we collapse it. Okay, and then we do. We are currently a knight. We will now be a cleric. Okay, so setting character class currently is knight. Is that for a cleric 1 EE? Character class cleric 1 EE. Okay, so setting to cleric, getting character class knight. Oh, that's just our check. No. Okay, so that's good. We want a knight because now we're saying the target's sturdy. Gain character class. Cleric. And we're doing that. Oh my gosh. Compute final stats. What's that? So we do get the character class. Character class modification levels. So we are pulling the cleric's modification levels. It seems like we are. Oh yeah, Corey, 2/3 is not bad. I'm certainly not poo-pooing it. Although, to be fair, without the day job, I would have stopped Infinity PBR a long time ago. So, but yeah, it pays all the other people. Gotta pay them first. And the reality is, I'm able to pay myself only because the Humble Bundle last year put a bunch of money into the bank account, and it's a business account. And so there's enough there that if things go well, I can pay myself a certain amount, and it will take a while to run out. So hopefully it will grow by then. That's the idea. But it's all because of the Humble Bundle. Otherwise, I still wouldn't be paying myself because it's essentially still month to month. And many months, like this month, I think it's only like $1,400 or $1,500 in revenue from the Asset Store this month, which is just not enough. The people I pay get paid more than that in a month. So this month I'll be losing money unless there is a sale starting tomorrow on the Asset Store, a Halloween sale, and I've got some stuff in that, so we'll see how that goes. Heads up, there's a Halloween sale coming up on the Asset Store. It's got some of my creepy crawlies in it. All right, I'm going to equip sword. I'm going to unpause. I'm going to equip sword, and we're a cleric right now. I'm going to become a knight, and gain character class cleric, set target sturdy. Did set character class to knight. Well, that's weird. Same character class, current is cleric. Same character class to knight, current is knight. Same targets to dirty for the knight. Gain character class knight, 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 knight. Yet, this is still -2. Okay, let's figure out where is this pulling its information from. It's pulling it from the modification that was passed in through the level. So somehow that is accurate, but the proficiency calculation must be doing it with the cleric. So final proficiency, source game stats and skills, final proficiency. Source game stats and skills is here. So my thinking then is that it did not recompute. It's not supposed to recompute. Oh. Or maybe I have the option to. Do I have the option to? No. I just didn't update the comment. Okay, how about this? Recompute or bool. Bool recompute equals false. And we'll do that for value 2. maybe we'll just set it to true, just to make it easier. And then if recompute, then we will first do compute final stats. But we need this stuff to compute final stats. So that's why we took it out, probably. Okay, so... Huh. So the proficiency of the source is not being updated before we do the check. So proficiency of sword should be happening before we do damage, because damage is affected by sword. So if we click on damage, then we should see that it's affected by sword in our list. But I don't think we do. Oh, we do. We do. So that means sword has to be recomputed before damage gets computed. But we're not saying sword to dirty, it looks like. Okay, let me remove this debug because that's just spamming now. Set targets dirty. Let's make sure sword is being set dirty properly. Saying dirty true. Saying what dirty? Setting okay, setting dirty true. Game stats and skills set dirty. Oh, this is just the loop. Okay, so debug.log setting ss.objectName to dirty is dirty. Is that what we're doing? New value, sorry. New value. Okay. Let's see if this gives us what we want. Yep. The Humble Bundle is just a lot of people bought it. I think, I want to say 8,000 people. Realistically, actually, we made less. I think only like 40% of the money came back to Infinity PBR. A lot of people just didn't really change the default values, it turns out. And so the charity, which is great. I'm glad the charity's got money. But Humble Bundle made a lot of money from it too. And I was actually hoping that more than 50% would come back to us, but it was only like 42 or 43%, if I remember correctly. I was surprised and a little disappointed about that, but what can you do? I'm still happy that we did it, obviously. It allowed me to hire the Jim, the video guy who was doing videos for a while and all that. All right. So let's equip the sword first. All right. We are a scout. I'm going to become a knight. Hit points dirty true. Set character class to knight. And then set magic points damage. So we aren't setting sword to true. Become a cleric. Magic points source. Hit points. Magic points source. Magic points max. Damage. So we set damage to true when we became here, but not here. So this is the one we call at the beginning, and this is the one we call at the end. The beginning one, right here, is calling sets dirty, but only doing 3. Oh, there you go. Nobody noticed that, did ya? Did ya? Boom. Whoops, sorry. Boom. And boom. There was a typo. This was doing character race, not character class. Again, not an issue with the actual system, just an issue with my demo. Let's see if that does the trick. Equip sword. We are barbarian. We are now a knight. All right, so it didn't quite do the trick. Damn it. All right. So happy about that. So we are saying damage to dirty is true. Saying dirty true, starring damage. But the proficiency is still... Okay, let's do cleric now. Saying damage to true. And then doing damage. And we're getting the knight's damage or proficiency. Okay, well. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for a walk. So there's clearly still a bug somewhere in this world. Doing the live streams is great, but it does tax my brain a little bit more than doing it by myself. So I'm going to go for a walk in the rain. And then I will come back and probably solve this bug in like 5 seconds flat. So I want to thank you for hanging out. I hope you have a great day. I hope the rain in Los Gatos is wonderfully strong, but doesn't knock trees down. Yeah. Thanks for all your tips, all your suggestions. You are often spot on, which I appreciate big time. I might stream tonight. I'm really tired and I've got some other stuff to do, so I might not. I've got some just random stuff to do for this charity I've been helping out. But yeah, so have a great night, everybody, and I will see you on the flip side. Thanks for hanging out.